my homies and my sexuals. I am figuring it out right now. I'm getting my shit together. I kind of mentioned a little bit past 2 days how I really wanted to try to switch up my bench a little bit and go back to the form I was doing when I pulled my chest. Just not as narrow as it used to be. I used to go way too narrow, but that, meet that little middle ground where I can like comfortably keep my elbows directly at my sides without them flaring out at all. Because just with all the training I do, I've consistently felt like my chest was being overworked. And the wider grip was nice for a little while because it took the strain off my core and my shoulders for Olympic lifting. But, it's getting too deep a stretch where my chest connects to my shoulder. And, it gets worrisome when it's a consistent feeling of, oh, fuck. You get that nice drive and then your left pec starts to push a little bit harder than the right, and you're like, oh, what the fuck is happening here? And it's like, it's scary shit. I don't fucking like it, But anyway, what I have learned today was I just kind of thought that I would magically have my shit fixed if I put it back to the slightly narrow grip and try to focus on keeping my elbows more on my sides. And there was a lot more manual work needed than I thought. I started feeling a little off when I got to 255, and I haven't done this kind of benching grip in months. Like, it's been almost 6 months now, so reasonably it's going to be harder than it normally is. Like, I'm like, number wise, I was not planning on putting up the same numbers as last week. Like last week I did 3 by 6 at 275, and I still went to 275 today. But I decided to stop at 2 sets. I probably could have done a third, but when you're trying to figure out new technique and you're running a new style of lifting, that shit is not for playing. That's when you need to really lock in your priorities and figure out what you want to work on initially so that you can build strength later. Because today was not the day to test my body, to see what was possible. This was just to see what, figure out a standard for what I can build upon for the next workout. And I'm very happy I chose to do that because the first set at 275 did feel better. I started getting better at, using not only mind muscle connection, but also really focusing on keeping my elbows on my sides. On like the 4th or 5th rep on my first working set at 275, I felt my chest get activated harder than I wanted it to, like how it's been doing. And I realized that was because I was flaring my elbows too much. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I don't really feel it when I'm doing my sets because, I'm not thinking about shit. I'm just trying to push it as hard as I can with the technique that I've got stored in my brain up to that point. So after that first experience of getting to really feel that out and see how insecure my body was in that way, because I've been so used to doing a wider grip for a while, I'm like, okay, now rather than emphasizing my strength and my overall abilities, I'm going to really emphasize keeping my elbows as tight into my body as I can without letting them flare, or at least not letting them flare on their own, because my left elbow was definitely flaring before my right, which is what gave it that deeper stretch that felt like shit. So I locked it in on that fucking last one, and god damn it, that was the one I needed. That was the experience I needed to be like, okay, and now I know I can do this shit. Like next time I am ecstatic for the next time I come in, especially because today was a pause rep day where I got to really emphasize my technique and my drive and where I wanted my body to really be pushing. And so it'll be a very good experience to have this opportunity to build upon for when I come in and do normal repping in a couple days on the next bench day. So we're making progress. You got to give your body that time to adapt to how the lift feels. Because even though I'm strong enough to do the 3rd set like I've been doing, does not mean I should hit it. I was thoroughly pumped up. My shoulders were fucking burning. My chest felt good. And I'm like, why end it on a set that I feel like I might die on when I can just end it here and build upon the efforts that I've put in? Because I know when I've pushed really fucking hard, and that wasn't my absolute limit. That was like an RP 7.5 or 8, something like that percentage-wise. You know me, like I'm I don't say that to mean like this is how many reps I had left after that. It's more of like I put in about 75 to 80% on that last set, probably more towards 80, and it really allowed me to see how much I needed to keep my conditioning up and make sure I emphasize these smaller things that I never actually had to think about in the past. Because I look back at my old benches from when I was like peaked and my chest wasn't fucked up, and every single set I was flaring my elbows. It's no wonder it pulled. Honestly, it's a miracle it took so long for it to end up getting injured, you know? I went almost 7 years, 3 years inconsistent, 3 years consistent, and then whatever I did after that, with no injuries on my chest, which is, it's pretty fucking rare. It's not often you can go that long without an injury on a certain muscle group, especially when you train strength predominantly. I've always trained strength. So it's really good to see that I have a lot more to learn in what used to be my best genetic lift. You know, I've always ever just benched like once or twice a week, and I do no accessories. It's just always naturally been there. My upper body's always been bigger than most, and now that the weight's finally caught up, I get to really put in that effort, kind of like how I used to do when I first got into Olympic lifting, and I had to fully retrain my body to utilize my low back and abs more than my main muscle groups and focus on technique and mobility, you know, instead of just letting my body take up all the strain it can with ugly form, you know. Other than that, the pause snatches did feel pretty fucking weird. I'm sure you've already seen most of it at this point, but yeah, they did not feel great because I was just really burnt out from yesterday. My core's been getting beat up a little bit because of all this. After every workout, I've been making sure, like, I come in the gym. Before my workout, I'll go till I get a quick pump on my quads doing reverse incline treadmill at the highest incline I can go. And then I'll end the workouts by doing backwards sled pulling, weighted up to I'll put 445s. If I'm feeling really good, 3. But you don't need to push weight. I'm trying to get to the point where I can confidently, with a slow tempo, push what's good for my knee, you know, not for the sake of my strength, just for the sake of my rehabilitation. And so that's been helping astronomically. My knee feels amazing most days now, even if I push it really fucking hard, which is awesome on its own after all of the rehab I've done for the past 5 months. But you know, it gets to a point where like my shoulders, my core, my everything was just burnt out, and you know, it was hard to lock out on a good bit of them. I'm sure you'll see. I had a good couple ones where I had to really, you know, I sacrificed technique a little more than I wanted to, which is okay. You know, it happens. It's more so just as long as you understand what was happening in those reps that you were flawed on, you know, really allowing yourself to be like, okay, well, that was good technically, you know, it was a made lift, but it didn't feel right and it didn't feel where it should be, so let's work on those little parts. And so especially my first working set at 195, on the last rep on that one, I jumped forward a fuck ton. I didn't even mean to. I lost the emphasis in my shoulders, and I didn't pull the bar into my hips. I let my hips come to the bar, and that's just what happens, you know? It looked like it was going well, and then I let my lower body take over and fucking fling underneath it, way too fucking fast. But I thought about that, and I was like, okay, I felt it. I understand what happened. Let's fucking build upon that shit and actually do better. And I'm definitely happy with the progress I made after that. The last set was definitely the best. I fucked up the last goddamn rep, and I'm not mad about it. It's a good learning experience, but I got overconfident, and more so I got too comfortable, because I was like, oh, okay, we're at the last one. I just got to fucking do it, whatever. And I didn't lock into it as hard as I did on the other one, so I tried to do this long pause and really just sit there, and then I let my butt come up first. I didn't lock on my shoulders properly. Everything was just that slight half a second off, and it made everything go fucking haywire, you know? So I was just like, whatever. Let's actually lock in and have a good fucking rep. And that last rep was definitely the best rep at the very least. You know, I love ending on the best rep. It's a very good thing to be able to build upon. So physically, you know, being realistic, I was tired as fuck today, and it wasn't as hard as I would have wanted to have gone, but the weight was still very consistent with what I've been doing. And, even though I may have stopped short or had some technical errors here and there compared to last week, it was still very good effort along the way that will build very nicely in the future of my program. So, I'm definitely going to give it at least we can give it an 8.3. That feels pretty solid. It was because today was kind of a learning experience. I was allowing my body to figure out what it needed to grow from, so that next week when I come in and I go heavier, or even in the later half of this week, I can build upon that and actually understand where I'm going, rather than just getting in and doing the same shit and just kind of letting whatever happen. I always have a purpose with my lifts, but I want to be able to leave and come back the next day with an ideology that supersedes the shortcomings I showed beforehand, Mentally, though, I'm feeling pretty fucking good, honestly. I had a good goddamn day. It was my brother's birthday today, and he's moving to LA, so, it's sad in the sense of, he's one of my best friends. I love this fucker, and I'm not going to get to see him much anymore. That's just kind of life sometimes. We got to do what we got to do to chase the passion. I'm all about it. I moved to Alabama. I'm here. I'm probably going to go somewhere further at some point. And we'll put in the time, I'm sure, when we can. And we'll keep in contact, whatever. But I was thinking of what to get him for his birthday. And I was like, I really did not know what to fucking do. Because we're at a point in our life where we're old enough to know, okay, well, I could get him, a joke gift. Or I can get him something that's just kind of oh, this has, that good sentiment. And I'm all about a good sentimental gift. Gifts are not meant for that. Gifts are not meant to be... I don't like how people cloud gifts with the idea that there needs to be an absolute materialistic purpose behind it, my mom will be like, oh, I just want to get you something that you could really use every day. And I'm like, no, Mom. Get me something that you thought I would enjoy, something that you thought I would have value in. I don't care if it sits in a drawer for the rest of my life. It has meaning behind it. It has that good connection that gets me happy in the day. It makes me think about the family that I love. And one of the best gifts I've cherished from her was my graduation gift, where she got me a very nice, expensive chain with a jewel on the end of it. And I love that thing, but I don't like wearing it too often because that's how special it is to me. I don't want to fuck it up. I want to keep it pristine to the condition and the standard that it makes me happy for. It brings back, I always keep it in a place where I can see it every day, so when I get back to my room and I got all the work done for the day, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I got people I care for in my daily life. So I was really thinking about what to do, and by the end of it, I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, well, I know what he's been asking me to do for a while, and so I kind of thought I'd put my own little spin on it. He loves playing games with me, but we get busier and we get busier as we get older, and it's kind of hard to find time for everything all the time every week. And we used to watch shows every day when we lived together and all this other bullshit. So I'm like, okay, well, what can we do from this point onward? And he's been asking me to play it. He convinced me to get Space Marines 2. That just came out. Whatever game it is. It's just something to enjoy our time with one another. And then he's like, oh, well, all the games I play are PS5 exclusive now. And I'm like, I don't have a lot of money. And I know that he would appreciate, but he's not the kind of guy who expects, if I were to be like, oh, do you just want, a couple $100 for rent and stuff while you're going to LA to get your stuff figured out? He's not the kind of guy who would be like, oh, I just want money, I appreciate that he likes that sentiment and that deeper meaning. So I was like, I bought myself a PS5. Long story short, I found a guy who was selling it near my house, and I'm like, the opportunity's there, I might as well take it. And I know it may seem like a cop-out gift, so I can just have something for myself, but the intention behind it was so that I could enjoy more time with the person I want to spend more time with, the people that I love, the people that I want to put more time into. It was an excuse to make me sit there in the day and be like, well, I got this big fucking thing on my counter, so I might as, it makes me want to cherish that relationship more, more of a reason to connect with them. My little brother and I fought so much growing up, and I used to think that it was just him being a dickhead and all, that's just what brothers are for, whatever. And he used to bug me so much about going to the lake, and he didn't have a car yet, so he'd have me drive him for over an hour every day, and it pissed me the fuck off because my mom would be like, just go do it, and I'd be like, oh, whatever, and look. And then you know, I would yell at him for it, and I get pissed off. And then after a while, I was like, well, I could be a bitch about it and have this negative mindset, or I could sit here and be like, okay, well, we're going to go to the lake anyway, I might as well make it an opportunity for us to grow, you know, for us to bond with one another. So instead of thinking that it was some obligation that was a bad part of my day, I decided to start enjoying it. And I started going with him, helping him out, fixing up whatever he wanted to fix up, clean whatever he wanted to clean up, and just being able to shoot the shit with him. Because it really showed me right then and there how little we actually conversed up to that point in our lives. And my whole point is, I like jumping at the opportunities in front of me that give me a better, more positive excuse to embrace the people I want to spend more time with. Because everybody, you know, if you've grown up with people and then you moved away, it's really hard to keep up those relationships the way they used to be. Because if you don't see them in your daily life, then you're not going to be able to grow the relationship to the point where it used to be. You know, not in a looking back and comparing kind of way. It's hard to build upon a good relationship when you live so far away, or you can't actually spend personable time in real life together. So I just like to be able to have these opportunities where I can actually jump into it and be able to say, you know what, I'm going to put life down for a little while. Even if I've got shit to do, even if I'm busy, and even if I've got plans I'm trying to look forward to, there's always a way to make time to spend quality time with the people that you care about. So why not, you know? It was expensive, and I don't have a lot, but it was one of the best purchases I've made recently, and I love that I'm able to have that confidence about the things that I embrace in that way. So anyway, because I didn't fucking tell you, mentally, because of all that shit, I'm having a great day with all the lifts and figuring out my bench and all that. I gotta give it I'll give it an 8.9. Not because it was a worse day than normal or whatever, but it was just very low key, and it was more sensual than anything. You know, I was in my feels a bit today, and it was good to get to talk to all the homies and just, you know, think about those I love, even if I'm not able to spend time with them right at this very moment. Anyway, tomorrow's my rest day, so I'm going to take a very nice 24 hours off, because I fucking deserve it. My body is crumbling right now. And I got a big old clean and jerk day that I have some high hopes for, so we're going to try to do our absolute best when we get to that point. And we'll just see what happens from there, you know? I'm going to do my best. We'll get there. I'm going to love life every fucking second. You know how it be. Let me know how those lifts have been going. I love hearing about it. And either way, I appreciate you guys letting me go off a little bit. I got too much to fucking talk about some days, and just got to get that shit out, you know? So, I'll be back, as always. I love you. See you later.